Hello, come in. This is Antique Demonstrations, and I'm your host, HammerTimeRog. Hey y'all, let me tell you something. I got up this morning, come out here and built me a fire in my old wood stove over there. It was 21 degrees now. I'm telling you, it's cold. It's 7 o'clock now, and they finally got it up to 55, so we're gonna be all right. Now, how about this old Red Goose shoe sign? Back when I was a kid, we used to wear Red Goose shoes. Really, that's when they sold them. I'm not sure if they even still sell them now, but they go way back. They go back into the late 1800s and early 1900s, and whether they still sell them or not, I couldn't tell you. But that's a really neat old tin sign, don't you think? Now, I got to tell you, I got an old shoe box right here. Right here. Now, that's what the shoes come in, but of course it ain't a Red Goose shoe box, but I just picked it up to show you. But anyway, they would take and wrap these boxes when you get your shoes. They'd wrap them in paper, and then they'd take and wrap the paper in string and tie it up, and you'd walk out the door with this wrapped in paper and go home with your shoes. I'm fixing to show you exactly how that went down, so just follow me over here. Oh, somebody wants to buy some shoes. They'd do it just like this. Roll that out there. Tear it off just like that. Lay the shoes in here, and they'd thank you, for buying your shoes. Oh, thank you so much for buying these shoes. Check that out. Solid cast iron, back in the day, Red Goose string dispenser. This is what they used at the counter to pull the string out and tie your box up with. This is how they do it. They tie your boxes up with it, wrap it all around there 2 or 3 different ways, which I ain't gonna do all that, take too long, but they tie your box up before you left with it. Now these things is rare. There's in all the shoe stores that sold Red Goose shoes in the late 1800s, early 1900s. This thing weighs a lot. It's very heavy. And when I bought this, I was at an auction 40 years ago, and they called it a doorstop. I knew this was not a doorstop. I knew exactly what it was. It was a string dispenser. And I went home after I got it, and I looked it up, and the book listed this 40 years ago at $1,200 if you could find one. But I bought it a lot cheaper than that. But anyway, $1,200, it probably wouldn't bring that today, but that was 40 years ago. But I'd say $700, $800, $900 for this thing. Y'all ain't gonna believe this. Don't I always start with that? I found this in an old barn. Guy gave it to me, and I could not figure out what it was. I mean, I've had it for years. It took me 2 years to figure out how this thing worked. I knew it was a rat trap, but I did not know how it worked, because the string wasn't on it, none of these sticks was on it, and I looked it over everywhere. All I could find is a hole here, a notch here, and nothing on this side. And over here on this side, this little thing was right here, but there was no spring. So I'm thinking, how does this work? Took me 2 years. I laid in the bed thinking about it. After 2 years, I figured it out, worked it out, and here's the way it works. I'm going to show you. This comes up. First of all, you got to pull this back and raise this up. And I also had to make these little sticks to make it work. And you put that stick in that notch right there. As you can see, that holds the door up. Then you put the trigger in. You see the trigger. You put the trigger in, put it in the hole, and see there it catches. And you drop this down in the notch. You have the stick is sticking through there. There's where you put your bait. Then that old mouse comes along here and he smells that bait. He goes in there and says, man, that looks good. And he grabs a hold of that bait and watch that thing close. And when it closes, I want you to watch this latch on it. Spring operated. You got yourself a rat take him in there, skin him, and throw him in the skillet and eat him. But that's how they caught rats back in the day. It took me 2 years to figure out how this thing worked because no sticks, no springs on it. I put the spring on it, just had to do it from scratch. It's hard to put a price on something like that. I've never seen another rat trap like this in my life, but hey, I don't know, $50, $75. I love it. Got a Hale sausage stuffer, late 1800s. All the farmers had one of these on their farms. And when they killed hogs, they would chop up some of the hog meat, the leftover hog meat and fat, and they'd stuff it into here, and they'd literally use hog guts, clean it out real good with a water hose or whatever they did to clean them real good, and they'd slide the hog gut right over this little ball, or this little knob right here. They'd crank that thing, and I'm going to show you what's inside here in a second, and then they'd hold it, and they'd just fill that full of meat all the way across there. And then they'd cut it into short pieces and cook it. That was their sausage. Now here's how it works on the inside. If you look, when you turn these, see it drives all that stuff with this closed. It drives all that meat right straight down through there and into the sausage. Now these right here, everybody had one of these back then. Everybody. I restored this one myself, so it looks pretty good, but most of them are so rusty you can't even use them. I also put the little base on it. But one of these babies right here, if you're selling one today, I'd say you'd get $100 for it. I mean, I got a lot of time in this, so I would want more, but yeah, you'd get $100 for one of these. Got me a little treasure right here, y'all. Now this is an old coffee grinder. I mean, this is the oldest one I got. If you zoom in here real close, I want you to look at that date in there. 1845. It's a B. Swift coffee grinder, 1845. Now, let me tell you something. Today, that is 180 years old, this coffee grinder is right here. Isn't that the coolest thing you ever seen? And I found this in an old barn, and a guy let me have it. And it was a long time ago. He said, just take it with you. So here's the way it works. I'm going to show you. You know, I wished I had some coffee beans. Let me see here. Look at here. I got coffee beans. All right, here we go. I'll put these babies in here. That ought to do it. Set my catcher in here. Now that is a snuff glass because the original catcher, you know, is gone 180 years ago. There you go, folks. Cup of coffee right there. Look, y'all. Oh, that smells good, huh? You know, here's the way they'd do it, too. They'd pour it in the pot, and no filters or no nothing, and then they'd put it on the stove and boil it and pour it right out. And I got to tell y'all, when it come off of that old wood stove boiling, now it was hot coffee. And I can remember my grandmother would pour his right out of the pot into a saucer, and he'd take that saucer and blow in it, and he'd drink his coffee out of that saucer because it was so hot and it would cool faster. Seen that many a times when I was a kid. This thing, I'm going to tell you right now, 1845, I'm going to tell you right now, 180 years old, I'm looking at $250, $300 for this, easy. Folks, thanks for watching Antique Demonstrations. And don't forget to hit that like button and please subscribe.